What is the most unbelievable thing that you've ever seen at a cricket match? And I can expand, and if something doesn't immediately come to mind, in terms of what I'm asking for.
You mean something that happened in a cricket match that should not have happened?
Oh, right. I saw it differently.
Not as in, oh my God, you know.
I would just say cricket, forget the match.
I
am absolutely astounded when you see pictures and videos on social media of like beach cricket. You set some stumps up and play on the beach with the tide coming in. And then you see up in the Himalayas, there's a game breaks out. Yeah. And then there'll be somewhere on a ledge on some mountainside and there's a game and the fielders are like 200 yards away down at the bottom, but there's a game on. You know, that's what the beauty of cricket, what it can bring to you. You don't have to have a pristine strip with an outfield and some nice little barriers around. Get a game going anywhere. You go to the Caribbean, there'll be music playing everywhere and a game of cricket with the tide coming in, but the tide does its job by making the pitch. And as the more that comes in, you go further out, and there's 3 or 4 fielding in the sea, and then you get this ledge, as I say, in the Himalayas. Of course, we've all done it with a couple of rums inside as we think it's marvellous. I wouldn't want to be on that ledge in the Himalayas.
Not with rums inside me anyway.
And it's a sheer drop of 100 yards, 200 metres, whatever. And there's fielders down the bottom trying to throw it back up. It's astounding that you see these pictures when guys and gals have decided we're going to have a game of cricket.
I like it. I wasn't expecting that.
I was thinking about the time that Darryl Cullinan hit the ball into the calamari tray. Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Or actually, one that came to mind that happened recently, and it's not even the first time it's happened, so it can't actually qualify.
Here's one for you about your place, about the Oval.
Go on.
And Robin Jackman, and we're playing on the roadside, if you know what I mean, on the main roadside, I can't remember what that. Robin Jackman's...
Archbishop Tennyson's side.
So, Archbishop, keep that thought in your mind, Archbishop Tennyson. So Robin Jackman comes in and bustles in, he slips on his front foot and he bowls, not a bouncer, a just slow long hop because he slipped. Clive Lloyd is the batter. Boom! And he hits this thing and it hit the Tennyson school wall and bounced back into the ground.
Someone catch it one-handed.
Unbelievable. We were over tight on that corner, I mean we were in the middle. Nevertheless,
wow,
it hit the wall. It wasn't that big a hit, but it hit the wall and come back into the ground.
Like that.
Yeah.
Chris Gale hit Brett Lee into school, didn't he? I think in the T20 World Cup as well.
Chris Gale hit.
It's not even a school anymore, is it? It's
no, it's not.
It's just something else.
Who's gone into the second tier at the Oval? Was it Monty Lynch or Inti Kabalam?
It could well have been Monty. I think Jason Roy managed it.
Yes, he did.
I think Jason Roy hit one there.
Yeah. What, into the OCS?
No,
the pavilion, second tier.
Oh, yeah, right up the top.
The upper tier members.
Where the Mark Ramprakash bar is. The hundreds bar.
I don't know, but I think it's above that.
No, Ramps his is the top bar. It takes you about an hour to get up there.
Yeah, that's where me and my dad sit. I don't know why I'm pointing at the ceiling.
Yeah, I think Ramps likes it because it gives him lots of exercise going up and down the stairs.
Shall I give you my example? Because there's quite a few. Because you could have said, I imagine, to qualify, you have to have been there or watched on TV, right? So it can't be,
It can't be like when someone fired an arrow into the Oval.
No, or that guy that cycled from third man to final leg between overs.
Yes.
Who was that?
Yeah, Keith Pont. Yeah.
That would qualify. If I saw it. I did once see the Fox, the Surrey Fox, but this happened quite regularly, walk out onto the field and position himself at deep point. And the Surrey batters just continued on, and the Middlesex fielders who hadn't seen the Surrey Fox, as in a real fox.
I can beat you with a fox story.
Oh, please do.
Bangladesh playing a tour game at the Oval, and then the guy comes out, the 12th man comes out with his drinks bottle, and he puts it down, and the fox comes up and takes a whiz on it. I honestly thought Bangladesh were going to leave. They were like, where have we come to? Because they're all wearing like 9 jumpers, right? They're freezing cold, and this fox comes out. And it wasn't long after that the fox disappeared. I don't know what happened.
Well, I think you do.
If we're on tall stories, the fellow with the bike, I think was Keith Pont, so it's Essex, and they were a very eccentric team, they were a jolly side. And Brian Taylor, Tonka Taylor was the captain. And the previous game, this is at Chelmsford, Ray East came onto ball, and the batter just kept hitting him for 6 towards over the stand and so on. Anyway, this next game, Tonka, John Lever's bowled and Stuart Turner as well, and Tonka Taylor said, right, as for Raymond, as in Raymond East, the field, we'll have the field for Raymond. Keith Pont again goes out the ground and stands on the bridge like this outside of the ground, stood where all the traffic was as if he's going to take a catch on the bridge. They were eccentric team, they were a good side.
So when I came up with this idea, I thought more along, so my personally, most extraordinary thing I've ever seen,
Other than the Fox?
Other than the Surrey Fox, was Ben Stokes at Headingley.
You meant good cricket stuff, and we were talking nonsense.
Yeah, no,
I was about to tell you a story about Dirk Nannis chesting the ball 80 metres around the MCG once.
It can be anything.
Yeah.
But it's singular, it's just one thing. Or it could have been, an innings. So Mike Atherton at Joburg, right, in 95.
Extraordinary.
Could be that. Or it could be...
Do you know one that never gets talked about anymore?
Go on.
Angelo Matthews at Headingley, when he was batting with Rangana Harath, and they were going to lose by like an inning.
2014.
Yeah, and they came back and they won that. That innings is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Also, for Alistair Cook completely losing the plot, I do not remember. One stage, I think they had all the fielders out on the boundary and he forgot to bring them in towards the end of the over. It was just chaos. And they should never have been in that game, and they ended up winning off the second last ball.
And I was following that game on the Copacabana beach.
Oh, here we go.
It was the World Cup.
I was with the Surrey Fox.
It was the World Cup in 2014 in Brazil, and I'm with about 150,000 people. 149,
all of them following Angelo Matthews.
149,999 were watching on the big screen as Argentina and Mexico played out a ball draw, and I'm on my phone using up a lot of data, which was paid for by talkSPORT, following the action from Headingley. Sri Lanka pulled off one of the most famous chases in history.
That was good. I remember that. That was. I saw Callis block out a draw at the MCG against Warne and McGrath, and I reckon Warne went past the bat about 50 times. And Callis it was before anyone really knew who he was. It was 94, I want to say, 95, or maybe it was a little bit later, maybe in 96. And he just kept playing and missing. And like any other human being in the world, we saw every other batter, Warne had them in it.
Yeah.
Callis was like, he was just on a Sunday stroll, and he just, I missed that one, did I? Next one, it was the same again. He ended up blocking out a draw, and it's one of the best innings I've ever seen. Just for any other player would have eventually just moved their hands and just nicked off, and Warne would have won. And it's at the MCG, pretty big crowd, and Callis blocked it out.
So what about Mitchell Johnson in 2013?
Yeah. The problem with Mitchell Johnson is I covered all 8 of the tests because I covered all the England tests. Then I went to South Africa. So I've got about 9 stories. I've got AB de Villiers playing him at Centurion when no one for 6 test matches had even managed to stay behind the line of Mitchell Johnson. And he was going, I'll just flick this for 6 then, shall I? There's a ball, I promise you, in that innings where he goes forward and then he comes back and then he leaves it and he could have just plucked it out of the air and thrown it back to Mitchell Johnson. And everyone else is like, trying to play like Hashim Amla looks like this is too fast for me and AB de Villiers. So I remember that. I remember him. I don't have great memories of anything at Adelaide other than the Stuart Broad moment. Do you guys remember the Stuart Broad duck in Adelaide? When Broady came out and there was a bolt on the side of the sight screen and the sunlight bubble somehow had reflected this bolt to blind Stuart Broad and he couldn't possibly face the next ball. And so it was like an 8-minute delay as people are getting handkerchiefs out, trying to put it around the bolt, move the sight screen this way. And it went for 7 minutes. And then do you remember what the first ball of Stuart Broad was? No. He walked outside of stump and lost his leg stump. 7-minute golden duck.
That's not like Stuart, that.
It was like, you've never seen a person deserve a golden duck more than he had at that stage. That's the Mitchell Johnson one that I really remember. And then also, we were at when Steve Smith got hit in the head.
So I'm glad you mentioned that because sometimes obviously it has to be a recency bias because I'm asking a question about something that you've seen. That spell of bowling, Jofra Archer to Steve Smith and then Marnus Labuschagne.
Yeah.
I've never watched, and I never saw Dale Steyn on a ground where he was at his most hostile. Actually, no, there's twice. Actually, there's Sabina Park 1998 and Jofra Archer against Steve Smith and Marnus Labuschagne. And I actually felt like I was going to see someone get really badly hurt. But being at Lord's that game, I felt like watching every delivery was just like, we all want to see fast bowling, but actually.
Definite.
Yeah.
It pays the rent.
Yeah.
Fast bowling pays the rent.
That was just off the scale. Like I've not seen anything like that since. So that came into my mind as well. I mean, you had to face it.
Yeah. No, I think there's a few Mitchell Johnson moments as well.
What about you, Bumble? I mean, in terms of just out and out. So obviously with the hostile...
Flintoff in the Ashes to Ricky Ponting was, that was sticks in my memory. And also the run out, the Flintoff
the Gary
run out.
Pratt.
The
the
Flintoff run out
at the Oval.
At the Oval
from mid on. And I was on commentary at the time, and it's one of them edge of the seat. As soon I thought, go on, you're out, and it was like an extra set, and he threw it. They'd always teach you to go over the top and take aim, fire, and he'd come from under here somewhere, woof, and the batter running, and the ball flew past him and hit the stumps.
I was in the crowd for that, about 8 pints in. And you're right, and I had a brilliant view of it, and because his knees were absolutely gone, right?
I had a great view of it too. I didn't enjoy it.
And almost like he was skimming a stone.
That's it.
Yeah.
Exactly it. As if you're skimming a stone on still water.
Yeah.
And he phew.
And the other thing with that is because the Aussie had such a hold over the English spectators and team for a long time, and obviously 2005 had happened, so we knew that England knew they were beatable. But who was it? Was it Ricky Ponting and Michael Clarke? No, who?
Michael Hussey.
Michael Hussey.
Flicked it off his toes.
And they put on a big partnership, right?
And the pitch was flat,
and
remember?
the pitch was flat. I think they'd been set like 500.
They weren't going to get there, but there was a moment.
Fans were starting to fear the worst. And that run out, basically, I think they put on like 150, maybe 200. And then that run out, they're gone after that. I think Michael Clarke came out and was stumped third ball for a duck, and that was it. The game was wrapped up within an hour or so.
There's a couple of others. I had Kevin Peterson at Pisara, that tiny little ground in Colombo that probably shouldn't hold. And I think it was one of those, those Sri Lankan days where you can't breathe. It's just so hot. And I think he just decided, I don't care, I'm just going to score as quickly as possible. And he's playing reverse switch hits and I don't think they had I forget, Randive might have been their off spinner, but they had Dilshan bowling as well. And they were like purposely bowling like as defensively as possible, and he's like, I don't care, it's hot, I'm just going to hit as many boundaries as I can.
KP, were you at that game, was it in East London, when he made his debut for England in ODI cricket?
Yeah.
What was the atmosphere like there? Because, you
hostile.
do have to play in front of hostile. But that was, I was watching it in a little bar in Tooting with my brother.
But he took it on. KP took it on,
and
he loved it.
And he turned the crowd.
Yeah,
it seemed. They wanted to kill him.
Yeah, definitely.
And then he came up against, who was he bowling? Dale Steyn and
Graham
Teeny.
Smith gave him a bit as well, I think.
They were giving him absolute. And he just bombed them. And walked off the field. And this South African crowd went from wanting to kill him to being like, that's pretty much the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Was that not the year of the mullet as well? With the streak, him and Jimmy Anderson? I think Jimmy had one as well.
It was before the Ashes, 2005.
Yeah, it was just before.
That was it. But what about...
You could put a couple of KP.
What about Headingley in 81?
No, I'd be playing. But again, that was Willis's 8 for 43.
Yeah.
Botham's centuries and wickets and... there were only 50,000 people watched that over 5 days.
I know, when you see the crowd...
You can see the crowd, there's no one there.
Nobody there.
I was at Harmanpreet's game that changed women's cricket forever, the semi-final against Australia, where she was at Derby. Again, no one at that ground. Like now, even that game would have probably 4 times as many, maybe even 5 times the crowd. And Australia was obviously in the middle of their great run. And Harmanpreet played one shot over and over again over deep mid-wicket. And she would hit it 10 metres to this side, 10 metres to that side, a metre over the top of, and you could see Australia going, there's no way this is going to last. Eventually, she's just going to pick out deep mid-wicket, we'll go through the rest of them and we'll win. And they just never did it. And she ended up with, 170 or something ridiculous. That changed Indian women's cricket forever.
That was a bit like Stokes at Headingley, wasn't it?
Well, I wonder, the other one is KP at the Oval, right?
Definite 158. With Warney going round the wicket, he's bound to hit one in the air. He has to hit one of these in the air.
Yeah.
He's having a lot of fun now. He's bound to sky one. No, he didn't. 158.
That was unbelievable. So, I found with the the Ben Stokes one at Headingley, what I found, I know I've been a bit critical of the Headingley Stadium, but I remember watching that and I was reporting on it for talkSPORT, and the crowd knew something was happening before I'd even countered the possibility that England could win that match. I remember listening to the crowd thinking, am I not reading this right?
Because this crowd,
maybe. Well, that's true. I was sober. I remember thinking they just sound too positive.
Yeah.
And early.
That's what Tetley's does for you, see.
I guess so.
Did you call Carlos Brathwaite's over?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there for that. You weren't there for that one, were you?
No.
So Carlos Brathwaite, I mean, that was incredible. I remember, oh God, there was an English journalist next to me, and he said, we're going to do this. And I said to him, and I said to him, I think they could still score this. And he looked at me like I was an alien.
Yeah.
But I'd been following West Indies cricket
time.
for about 6 or 7, yeah, definitely. I've been following West Indies cricket for about 6 or 7 years, and I was like, honestly, I think they could still do this. And then the first 6 went, and he looked at me, and no one's ever looked more English, where he just went, oh God. And then, of course, that was the end of it, right? It just kept getting worse. But also, the Stokes, the New Zealand, the 2019 final, like, that was absolutely ridiculous.
That was ridiculous. Because that was just, there was 4 or 5 absolutely crazy once-in-a-million moments in there.
Yeah.
And
like
also,
the trend, we know
off the back of a really boring day's cricket, which I was turning to people in the back, well, Neil Manthorp. I was turning to, because you can remember it was on Channel 4 took it, didn't they? So it was like, the final, bringing loads of new fans to the game. And I remember turning to Manners going, this isn't going to bring new fans in. This is going to, Colin de Grandhomme taking 2 for none from his 10 overs, absolutely impossible to hit. And you're like,
well, to be fair, if the last time they watched ODI cricket on free-to-air TV was in the early 2000s, there were lots of Colin de Grandhommes back there. So, but there's things like the Trent Bolt standing on the Toblerone, right? And you're just like, no, and you don't even remember that anymore. Or Mitchell Santner getting bounced by Jofra Archer for getting to run.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many cool little things in that. I think that was a pretty
And the umpire's getting the laws wrong.
It's not ideal, is it?
With the ball coming off the bat and giving England 1 too many runs.
Yeah.
And Stokes saying, I don't want the runs, but them saying, well, you have to, because it's the law, because it's reached the boundary.
I'm not sure. Is it 100%? Jimmy Anderson said that Stokes said that. I don't think the umpires have said that Stokes said that.
Oh, no, you could see it. Well, whatever, right? Look like
it's a good story.
Yeah, it's a better story. I apologise.
That's what it's all about. What about India batting all day in, was it Kolkata? In 2001 against Australia.
That was incredible.
I mean, that was off the scale.
Again, that goes back to that sort of KP thing where there's a point in that innings where VVS Laxman, I think Warney's coming around the wicket to him, and he comes down the wicket. Warney's trying to hit the foot marks, and VVS Laxman is so fast and so skillful that he gets sort of outside the line and hits him through covers. Mm-hmm. And at that point, you're like, he can't keep playing these shots and stay in, because that is the stupidest, most graceful shot I've ever seen in my life. And he did it for like a day and a half, right? And he just kept doing it. And there's a point in that innings where the greatest team of all time give the ball to Justin Langer. And I remember texting my friend and going, how have we got to Langer? Like, how is Justin Langer bowling in a test match?
That was back in the day when you only had 10 texts a month as well. So you wasted one
I might have sent him a letter. I might have
written a letter.
What about other ones then? I'm just trying to think, because we're quite...
Another one on women's cricket is Anya Shrubsole taking
of course,
6 or 7 in the final.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was covering that game, and I had this piece written for England, and so I was like, I wouldn't mind England winning this, You always cheer the piece, Bumble, as you know. You cheer the narrative. I've got a good piece on England, let's see. And halfway through, I was like, okay. And so Cricinfo ring me up and go, can you write about Mitali Raj? Because India's going to win this. I'm like, yeah, of course. And then suddenly Anya just came in and they just capitulated.
They did.
So undramatically. It was just like India, we're going to win this World Cup. No, we're not. Turn the lights out. We'll see you at the next tournament. And that was, I don't think, it reminded me of, you might remember, was it 79 when Ghana comes on, when England is in a really good position, and Ghana comes on at the media centre end at Lord's, and it's just like Ghana goes, no guys, this game's over, I'm going to win this World Cup. I can't remember, I think it was 79. It comes on in one spell. That's what Anya basically did all those years later, and it looked like an adult playing a bunch of kids.
Anything else to throw in the mix? One thing then. Mine's Ben Stokes at Headingley. If I ever see anything as
You've said it like 3 times.
exhilarating as that, no, that was just off the scale.
Cricket on a ledge.
He loves his
Cricket on a ledge.
I was there for Warren's hat-trick. Can I also throw in my first IPL game, which would have been just a normal game, Mumbai Indians first. I can't remember who they were playing.
Yeah.
But like going into that ground, like a lifetime of following cricket had not prepared me to go in and have the crowd the way they were, the energy in that place. For a game that I don't remember it, right? No one in the ground remembers what happened in that game. The only thing I remember is I was on the boundary. They let us walk around the boundary, and Richard Levi, remember Richard Levi? And he was in front of me, and I was like, cricketers have changed shape, because that is not the shape of batters in the old days. He just looked like a beast. Well, I don't remember anything about the game, but just the crowd, the energy and the sound at an IPL game. As someone who grew up in cricket, even had been to the MCG, I'd never seen it on that sort of heightened level ever before.
Don't get that on a ledge.
Still on a ledge.
Yeah, ledge is good, don't get me wrong.
I like ledge.
Unless you fall.
In traditional gear as well, in traditional dress. All in traditional dress.
2 slips on the ledge, the other
Yeah.
the fly
The other
slip
one,
200 yards down in.